The West Virginia Mountaineers are actually in the mix for a 5-star guard in the 2025 recruiting class. Can you believe that? West Virginia right there in the mix with the big boys, with the Kentuckys, the Kansases for this star. Mountaineer Paul and I are going to talk about that, and we're going to do it right after this word from our sponsor.
This episode of Hoops on the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com, or you can come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
What is up? My name is Couz.
I'm Mountaineer Paul.
And we present to you
Hoops from the Hill.
All right, we got a fun one for you. We're talking recruiting in this one. Haven't got a chance to do that in a while. West Virginia made the top 10 for 2025 5-star guard, combo guard, and rated by many outlets or some outlets out there as the top 12 player in the entire 2025 class. And the top combo guard in the class, Jasper Johnson. Paul, I know you and I have both had a chance to watch a few highlights. You've probably more than me. What does it mean in your eyes to have this guy with West Virginia in his top 10?
It's a big deal. Certainly a reason to root for Josh Eilert to keep his job.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, being in the top 10 is a big deal. Making the next cut is the bigger deal. Certainly, I think WVU has the chops to do that. You know, several of the games I watched him, Bill Self was there. John Calipari was there. Bill Self and John Calipari were there at the same time watching him, for one thing. Those were the big boys. They were in person watching this kid play. I saw John Calipari and North Carolina's head coach there at the same time watching this kid play, and probably some other play. Let's just get right down to it. This is what I would consider to be an elite ball skills type player. Couz pointed out when we were talking earlier about this kid's ball handling. He's not wrong. He's got elite ball handling, but he's even a better passer, in my opinion. He really loves to throw no-look passes. He uses the bounce really well to bounce pass. He really favors that over just a normal chest pass, I noticed. So you can use better angles with the bounce. And then he has unlimited range. And he really loves to use – you can tell he's inspired by James Harden as a left-handed player, because he loves to use his dribbling skills to get separation. And he does a lot of step-back type jumpers from really, really deep. So he's most definitely inspired by this generation's player, which is the NBA right now, which is you shoot it from the logo, and you're trying to get your shot off. But as to where the generations past, it was all about getting into the lane, drawing contact, and getting to the line to get 3 points. This generation does it in one fell swoop from behind the arc. And that's something this kid does really, really well, and maybe better than anybody else in America.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. His range is unbelievable. And when watching his highlight tape, another thing that stood out to me is how quick he gets up off the floor. I mean, the kid's got super great hops. He's a great shot blocker to be a guard. And at 6'4", he can play, because of his ball handling skills, he can play the 2 or the 1. And he actually plays the 1 a lot in the videos I watched because of his ball handling skills, man. He's an elite talent. And I totally understand why he's rated as a 5-star kid after watching his highlight tape. Wasn't able to see a whole lot on the defensive side. You know, highlight tapes usually don't show a lot of that other than the shot blocking. But, man, he can get up and block some shots. Even if you're on a fast break.
The potential's there for him to be an elite defender, too.
Absolutely. I'm going to read I'll just go ahead and share the article that On3 did. This is I've read a few articles. This is my favorite one because he talks about West Virginia in this one. He's already taken a visit to West Virginia, actually. He did back in September. So that shows right there that they're in the running. And it says elite, again, this is Joe Tipton from On3. He says elite 2025 shooting guard Jasper Johnson names top 10 schools. Jasper Johnson, one of the top shooting guards in the 2025 class, has narrowed his list of schools down to 10. Moving forward, the 6'4" junior of Link Academy out of Missouri will consider Alabama, Auburn, Baylor, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisville, Missouri, North Carolina, Southern California, and West Virginia. Ranked number 12 nationally in the On3 industry ranking, Johnson is looking to officially visit a few programs in his top 10. Here's the tentative visit schedule, which is subject to change. North Carolina in February the 3rd weekend, Kentucky February 10th weekend, and Auburn on February 17th weekend. A visit to Baylor in the near future is also a strong possibility for the Lexington, Kentucky native. That part scares me, which I'll get to in a minute. Up to this point, Johnson has already taken official visits to West Virginia and Missouri. Programs like Kentucky, Alabama, and Louisville have all hosted him on unofficial visits. And here it is him discussing some of the visits he's already taken. Let's just skip on. He loved Missouri. He talked about how he loved the coach there, and they've been recruiting for a while. When it comes to West Virginia, he says, I loved it. They have a new coaching staff. Coaches having to make a couple of adjustments and things. They've definitely been recruiting me since my freshman year. Came up to my old high school a couple of times, just building that relationship between us. Coach McCabe calls me 2 times a day, really, and we just stay in contact. Here's the one that scares me the most right here. This is Kentucky. Coach Orlando reaches out to me probably every day. He wants me to come back home for my college season. They're planning for me to be there for 9 months and then off to the NBA, and that's what I really want to do in college. I feel like if that's the best option, then it could be there. But if it's somewhere else, then it could be somewhere else. Coach Cal is definitely a good coach. I see how they're playing multiple guards this year and how they're making that work. Now, he goes on to talk about a few other things, but I just want to skip on down to the scouting report. It says he's and I'll leave a link to this in the description, guys, so you can read it for yourself. But he says Jasper Johnson is a lefty with nice size and good length. What he does is shoot the ball. Johnson has deep range that extends well beyond the three-point arc, and he is at his best in catch and shoot or with 1-2 dribble pull-ups, just like Paul said. We'd like to see Johnson tighten the handle, can struggle once he is in the paint, lacks blow-by burst at this point to get past his man at the point of attack, has a crafty layup package around the basket, especially with the left hand. He's a lefty. Solid explosion with a running start. Can get beat off the bounce in the open floor on defense. We use both hands to dribble, but most of the time it comes back to his left hand. The range extends well beyond the three-point arc. Plays with a lot of confidence. Can get you into sets. Dad played football at Kentucky and NFL. That's from On3's Jamie Shaw. So, Paul, a lot of that aligns with what you said, what we said. I did notice when he went to the paint, he's not a real fast guy. He can't blow by people like a Jawan Staten used to do necessarily. But he's got good enough ball skills and or good enough body control, I should say, to where when he gets in the air, he can still make shots even with guys guarding pretty tight. Now at the next level, I'd like to see him fix that. But let's keep in mind the highlights we're watching are from his sophomore year in high school. So he's got being in the 2025 class, he's just now a junior, and so he has 2 more years of high school ball to develop. What are your thoughts on that scouting report from On3? Do you agree with most of that?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I had the 100% same thought about his in the lane, which is why I stuck to outside because he does struggle once he gets in amongst the trees. I just don't want to be negative. Us to be included with these schools is really big. That says a lot about our basketball program, considering the state it's in right now. So what do we have to do to actually land this kid? Because being in the mix for this kid does nothing for anybody, right? So obviously we have to continue to watch the on-the-court battle that's actually going on with these kids right now. And I think that's something to look forward to. And hopefully this team can sneak into the NCAA tournament somehow so that this coaching staff sticks together, because I do think, and it's not going to be if, but when Jordan McCabe is going to be a superstar in the coaching ranks.
Mm-hmm.
And to lose him now may be something I think we end up regretting. When it's all said and done after the year, I think of all the losses from the way everything is lining up, the way it looks, it will be a huge loss. Everybody's a huge loss, everybody. But Jordan McCabe specifically is a rising star and will be highly, highly sought after by every program in America. He's got several 100,000 followers on social media. His wife is a drop dead knockout and also has several 100,000 followers. They're a star couple that lives out west in, that Las Vegas area. I guess they don't now, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got it going on, man. So
yeah,
if it was my say, and he was just a year or two older, I would just hire Jordan McCabe as my next head coach.
Wow.
I think he's going to be that good someday.
Wow. Hot take. All right. One thing I think they have already done to try to land this kid, and I don't want to be unfair to Aiden Tagaloa Nelson because I think he's a great athlete and a good basketball player. He was a high school teammate to Jasper Johnson. And that's actually how they found Aiden Tagaloa Nelson. So is it possible they brought him onto the team to help in recruiting Jasper Johnson?
And there's no doubt. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. West Virginia football team did the exact same thing. Remember Dana Holgerson was not recruiting Darius Steele. He was recruiting Dante Steele. But they signed Darius just to help him get Dante. And then, of course, Darius ended up being a star in his own right, a consensus All-American. So it worked out pretty darn.
Did you ever see?
Yeah, pretty darn good, right? So could that be another example of that here? I mean, obviously they're not brothers in this case, but still high school teammates and potentially friends. So I just thought that was an interesting little nugget of information that the audience may be interested in.
Well, there's a reason we're in the top 10. Just leave it, just figure it out for yourself. I mean, I think the Nelson, it obviously is playing a factor along with McCabe.
Yep, absolutely. And I don't think it's the only factor. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to, try to downplay his recruitment or make it like that's the only reason. But it's got to, it probably plays a role in it.
Coach Hugs really had a lot to do with it too.
Yeah,
he's been recruiting him for a long time.
That's true. Yeah, because he said they've been recruiting since he was a freshman. So
yeah.
So that was a year ago.
The outlook has changed, man. Just a year ago, just think whenever this all heated up, West Virginia had the number one transfer portal class in America. And a lot of and then some stuff came out about Johnson back then connected to West Virginia. And he was on record saying Noah Farrakhan has one of the best highlight tapes ever in high school, and he does.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody knows about Noah Farrakhan. And it was a big signing at the time. And I think they were trying to sell Johnson on, hey, we're going to pair you up with Noah Farrakhan. And I truly believe that's what they were selling him on next year. So I think there's a little bit of legitimacy to all that. And we'll see. I mean, he's got another year, so does Kerr. Let's see if they can get that backcourt together.
Yeah, I think if we could land him, man, it'd be huge. But I don't. And even though I know we're in the hunt, I just don't feel confident we're going to get him for the simple fact of Kentucky. He's from Lexington area. He's already been to Kentucky. He liked it. And the one thing in that statement that made me nervous is the fact that he wants to be a one and done player. And what school in America does one and done's better than Kentucky, right?
Well, it's what they market. And even when it was popular to get 4-year degrees 12, 13 years ago, you can go back to 2010, 11, when Calipari was saying, hey, look, come to Kentucky, you'll be one and done. He's been doing it forever, man. Yeah. He took an all freshman team to the Final Four.
Yeah. But let's not kid ourselves here. The NIL is going to play a big role in his recruitment too. I'm not saying they're going to induce him with NIL, but he's going to look at the school's NIL situation, what's available to him if he does sign, what's out there available and possible to him. And so Country Roads Trust, in my opinion, the job they're doing and the job Jay Couz is doing there as well could play a huge, huge role here in getting Jasper Johnson. It would be a huge, huge get Now, the last 5-star recruit West Virginia got was Oscar Sheboy, but he wasn't a one-and-done player. He came, did really good his first year, decided to come back again. He ended up transferring out in the middle of the season. Did not work out as planned. But it's a whole new staff, whole new regime. Everything's different at West Virginia right now. And then at that time, we also didn't have NIL as a factor. NIL wasn't really a factor for Oscar till he got to Kentucky. So I think that, Country Roads Trust and the job they're doing could also be a potential positive for West Virginia. Not saying Country Roads Trust can outspend Kentucky's NIL or anybody else's, but if they go all out and try to, not like I said, not induce him, but have enough money in the coffers to make somebody like Jasper Johnson want to come there, I think that could go a long way as well. I also don't want to undersell what they do.
100%. Yeah, I mean, listen, and Kentucky isn't the only team on that list I'm worried about. Even if he doesn't go to Kentucky, there are 3 or 4 teams on the list that are going to be really hard.
No doubt.
But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, obviously, Johnson is probably a take for every team in the country, no matter who else you recruit. But there are going to be a couple teams who recruit even above Johnson at some positions, and he may not be the number one option for a lot of these teams, because a lot of these teams can, they either have established playmakers that are coming back, or they have a freshman that they've already recruited that may be a higher 5-star than Johnson that would be something he's competing with or against.
Right.
So, and that can play a factor. So you think, like the North Carolinas, the Kentuckys of the world, even Auburn now that, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Some of these teams will cancel themselves out. West Virginia has a great chance of doing that. Actually, if you look at this list, I would say we were probably one of the least favorites to land the kid, right? As
I will say,
now.
Especially considering our coaching situation.
But it's still exciting, and if these guys come back, don't count out Jordan McCabe in for us.
Yeah, and I think him being young, even though we've talked about it before being somewhat of a disadvantage, I think it can also be an advantage. Who can relate to a college player better than somebody who was just in college a year ago? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and by the way, also happened to be a pretty good point guard in his own right, and was highly recruited. He wasn't a 5-star, but he was highly recruited. So,
I'll never forget watching his highlight tape out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, he was just a phenomenal high school basketball player, and that, had very high expectations coming into West Virginia. So he understands the pressure of being a high school star and going to the next level, just like some of the other guys on staff do, right? So this staff, I think if this staff stays, we actually have a better chance of getting him versus if they don't stay. But at the end of the day, I still feel like the Kentuckys and the Kansases, even the UNCs, probably have a better shot than West Virginia. But the fact that West Virginia is even in the mix, I think is exciting to show the job this staff is doing on the recruiting trail. So,
agree.
Any final things you want to say before we say adios?
I'm good to go, man. Hopefully we get this kid.
Yep. We appreciate you tuning into this. We thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff that us YouTubers ask for. Thank you again for your support. Drop a comment below. We're done.